Welcome to the first edition of Vienna Showcase from the Kunsthistorisches Museum Vienna. Today I am pleased to welcome representatives from media and the travel industry from 16 countries, from the US to India. So a warm good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of you. Vienna Showcase is our brand new live stream series to present Vienna as the lively arts and culture city that it is, even during this extraordinary and difficult year. For many of you, it may not be possible or may be relatively difficult to come to Vienna at the moment, for research, business, or just enjoy the most livable city in the world. So in the meantime, we bring Vienna and its world-famous cultural scene to you with Vienna Showcase. We all hope that this situation will change soon and international travel will be part of our lives again, without any obstacles. Just keep in mind, Vienna will still be the most beautiful city in the world after the coronavirus crisis.
Welcome to the Kunsthistorisches Museum. The Kunsthistorisches Museum is the top museum in Vienna. It houses the former imperial collections from Greek and Roman, Egyptian art, the paintings, the Kunstkammer, and of course it's something what we call a Gesamtkunstwerk. We have just put on our show Beethoven Moves, honoring this great composer on his 250th birthday this year.
Enjoy the show and stay safe.
To present an exhibition about Ludwig van Beethoven is a particularly delicate task. He's of course an extraordinary figure, one of the most famous people who ever lived. A lot of people know a bit about Beethoven, and a few people, especially in this town, know an awful lot. So we had to approach this project with caution, but not too much caution. Beethoven was not a cautious individual himself. He was radical and risk-taking. And so we attempted to channel a little bit of this radicality and risk-taking in the exhibition ourselves. What you will not find here are any paintings of Beethoven. We're not attempting to tell the biography of his life. Fortunately, in Bonn, the city in Germany where he was born, they mounted an exhibition earlier this year which did exactly that. So this freed us up to be a little more experimental, a little more intuitive, shall we say. And what we've put together is an exhibition in 4 parts, almost like the 4 movements of a symphony, very different architectural tableaus, which, seen as a whole, thread together this remarkable life and legacy. And if you join me now for a few minutes, I'll walk you through the galleries and show you some of the remarkable objects that we've put together. We're going to begin over here. On the wall of this gallery, the first gallery, which is dedicated to the young Beethoven, his arrival in Vienna at the age of 22, this young genius, we have all 32 of the piano sonatas, which were entirely composed here in Vienna during the course of his life. And these drawings have been made by a young German artist, Jorinda Voigt. She has analyzed each of the sonatas in turn and created her own emotional response to these works, attempting to render in physical terms the music of Beethoven, which of course is entirely abstract. And in certain moments we've been able to compare and contrast Jorinda's renderings of these wonderful pieces of music with the original scores in Beethoven's own hand. This is the Waldstein Sonata, borrowed from the Beethoven house in Bonn, dedicated to his first patron, Count Waldstein, a German aristocrat who funded his trip to Vienna, where Beethoven came to study under Haydn, and who introduced him to Viennese aristocracy, which helped Beethoven gain many of his most prestigious commissions later in life. And to thank Waldstein, Beethoven dedicated this piano sonata to him later in life. So we have this towering architecture, a very optimistic, almost sort of sacred space, which has been designed by the Dutch architectural firm Tom Postma. They've completely transformed the galleries of the Kunsthistorisches, which are almost unrecognizable. There's a wonderfully unexpected pairing at the center of this gallery between a magnificent plaster sculpture by Auguste Rodin, made in 1877, his first life-size sculpture, which completely scandalized Parisian society when it was first revealed. It had the title at the time, The Vanquished. It's now known as the Age of Bronze. And it's a somewhat ambiguous figure, caught somewhere between triumph and defeat, suffering and glory. And it's almost a sort of stand-in for Beethoven himself here in the exhibition. A beautiful work borrowed from a museum in Le Havre in France. And opposite, as a companion for this work by Rodin, we're showing a remarkable installation of a work, a grand piano, suspended from the ceiling of our museum. It's a sculpture by the German artist Rebecca Horn, made in 1990. The title is Concert for Anarchy. Beethoven was a genius, but he was a genius who was also prone to explosions of rage and emotional anger. And we wanted to capture some of this fiery temperament in the exhibition. If we have some luck, this work by Rebecca Horn will do something for us in a few minutes' time, or hopefully sooner, and will display a certain fiery nature. It's happening right now. This takes place around every 15 or 20 minutes in the course of the exhibition. When you're not expecting this as a visitor, it's a shocking moment, a discordant thump in the middle of this otherwise beautiful, serene gallery. So this is Rebecca Horn's Concert for Anarchy. And over here, almost as a bridge to the next gallery, we have a work by a British artist, Idris Khan. And for this work, which is a C-print photograph, Idris has photographed the title page of every single sonata by Beethoven and laid the photographs one on top of another, creating a wall of sound, or if you like, a void of sound. And the title, Struggling to Hear, for Ludwig van Beethoven, is in reference to this terrible moment in Beethoven's life where at the age of 28, he began to realize that he was losing his most important sense, his hearing. And this dark moment in Beethoven's life is explored in the next gallery. So if you come with me, I can show that to you now. So we're here now in the second gallery of the exhibition. It's dark, there's a completely different atmosphere. And what we're trying to evoke in this gallery, as I just mentioned, is this terrible chapter in Beethoven's life where he began to lose his hearing. And the objects that we've assembled include what looks like a wooden floor from any one of thousands of old apartments here in Vienna. But this isn't just any old wooden floor, it's the wooden floor from the room in which Ludwig van Beethoven died in the Schwarz-Spanier-Straße here in Vienna. When the building in which this apartment was found was torn down in 1903, a group of concerned citizens and Beethoven admirers preserved pretty much anything they could get their hands on from the apartment. The floor, doors, door frames. And since 1903, these wooden parquet panels have been piled up in the storage of a museum here in Vienna. And we were fortunate enough to be able to find them, to restore them, and then to lay this floor in the exhibition here in the second gallery. And if you walk round the floor with me, we'll pass by some photographs taken in 1903 at exactly the moment before they began the demolition of this apartment. 6 empty, quite haunting photographs of the last resting place of Ludwig van Beethoven. Beethoven was famous for moving house, moving apartment very, very often. He's said to have had almost 67 apartments in Vienna. He changed his apartments like he changed his trousers, they say. I think it was due to a lot of problems with paying his rent that necessitated all of these moves. On the wall, as we move around the gallery, we have the famous Heiligenstädter Testament, a deeply moving text written by Ludwig van Beethoven to his two brothers about this despair he felt at his physical decay. This text was found in his possessions after his death and was posthumously published. And over here on the wall, on the other side of the gallery, as a companion to this floor, we have a series of etchings made by the great Spanish master Goya. Goya lived around the same time as Beethoven. He was born slightly earlier and died slightly earlier. And Goya himself was also deaf. And these prints, Los Caprichos, are a series of 80 prints. We have a selection of them on display here, in which Goya responds to this terrible hand that fate has played him. Here in this first print, we see a tragedy of a love story. Beethoven himself was himself involved in a number of tragic love stories, always unrequited love. As we move down this wall of wonderful Goyas, we'll pass one of the famous ear trumpets used by Beethoven to help him absorb into his ear all of the peripheral sound that existed in a room and help him make sense of what was going on around him. Some of these are among the most famous images that Goya produced during his life, a work in which he satirizes the physician, the doctor, suggesting that the doctor's advice is so poor that it was in fact worse than sickness itself. And next to it, one of the most famous images that Goya produced during his entire life, a self-portrait in which the artist is seen having a terrible dream which is filled with bats and asses and cats and all sorts of wild, haunting creatures. So this room is really about this dreadful moment in Beethoven's life, but things do take an upward turn, and we'll see that as we move through to Gallery 3, if you'll follow me this way. We're here now in the third gallery of the exhibition, and it's really about the breakthrough that Beethoven made, having began to deal with this issue of not being able to hear. It's known that Beethoven composed and wrote some of the most remarkable music after he could no longer hear. And many of these compositions were directly inspired by his encounters with nature. Beethoven was known for taking walks out into the forests, into the fields, where he took his notebooks and composed and wrote down thoughts. And in this gallery, we've got blue walls for the sky. We have a reflective floor with an almost water-like effect. We have landscapes. And we'll begin maybe in this little corner of the room, where we've assembled a wonderful pairing of sketchbooks by the great British master Turner and some of Beethoven's own first impulsive compositions. It's been a dream of mine to exhibit sketchbooks by Turner in an exhibition for a very long time. We're showing some wonderful, impulsive watercolor scenes of the south of England. This is a lighthouse close to Plymouth. We've got a sketchbook full of Turner's skies, studies of different cloud formations. And directly next to them, we have these first scratchy, wild compositions of Beethoven. He was known for being particularly difficult to interpret in terms of how he wrote music. His copyists were always complaining that they couldn't make sense of what he was writing. And up here on the wall, we have 4 pages, 4 leaves from another sketchbook by Turner, in which he portrayed a fire in the storehouse at the Tower of London. 4 different stages of the fire, which he witnessed at first hand in London. Then we'll gradually move over to another corner of the exhibition where we've assembled almost a small exhibition within an exhibition. We've gathered together 7 remarkable paintings by the German master Caspar David Friedrich. Caspar David Friedrich is considered by many almost to be an old master now, but in a museum like this, he's still relatively modern. We've brought together 7 paintings, a number of them from the Belvedere Museum here in Vienna, others from Munich and Hamburg and Weimar, some wonderful loans we were able to get. Friedrich and Beethoven did not know each other. We don't know of any correspondence between the two of them, but their ideas and their thoughts and their emotional rendering of the natural landscape are almost interchangeable, the same as Turner and Friedrich themselves. So this is a wonderful moment to enjoy paintings that otherwise you'd have to travel far and wide to be able to see. Sitting next to these paintings, we have a very special object in the exhibition, Beethoven's own personal copy of the Eroica Symphony manuscript, which was commissioned by the Count Lobkowitz and first performed here in Vienna at the Palais Lobkowitz. You'll notice that it's dedicated in Beethoven's own hand to Napoleon Bonaparte, but famously this dedication was violently erased, scratched out by Beethoven after Bonaparte crowned himself as emperor. Beethoven fundamentally disagreed with this and therefore removed the dedication in the manuscript to Napoleon Bonaparte. Next door we have a wonderful loan of a painting from the Prado Museum in Madrid depicting Prometheus. Prometheus was a mythical creature who defied Zeus by bringing fire from the sun to mankind, a liberator of mankind. And he's a figure with whom Beethoven himself was often compared and associated during his lifetime, a liberator of humanity. And next to this wonderful painting, we have the orchestral parts of the overture for the ballet Prometheus, written, of course, by Ludwig van Beethoven and borrowed from the Lobkowitz collection in Prague, in the Czech Republic. Unfortunately, we cannot show you what is happening in the 4th and final gallery of the exhibition, the 4th movement of our symphony, if you like, and there's a good reason for that. Beethoven himself lived from wonderful commissions and he lived from live performances. So we felt it was incredibly important to have in our exhibition a moment of live performance and a moment of commission. So we invited a wonderful artist, Tino Segal, who lives and works in Berlin, to create a new work for the exhibition, which is a live performance which takes place every minute of every day of this exhibition until late January. He's working with a group of 10 wonderful singers and dancers who, together with Tino, have arranged a number of pieces of Beethoven's music for the human voice. Symphonies that are intended to be played by an entire orchestra are now being sung by a single individual. Gentle piano music, loud booming symphonies. For each different part of the music, a different part of the human body will dance. One piece of music has been arranged with movements for the face and the head, one for the shoulders, one for the feet, and for the 9th symphony, the entire body. So come, visit the exhibition whenever you have time. If you can't visit the exhibition, we hope that this walkthrough has at least given you a sense of what we've done here in Vienna. And thank you.